There are many reasons for choosing to watch a movie, and I'm a sucker for a great poster, and The Visitor has an absolutely brilliant one, hence I decided it would be this week's review. Was the movie able to live up to its brilliant poster and the film's reputation as a cult horror? Well, all I can say at this stage is it was goddamned weird. As a late 70s Italian sci-fi horror, we of course get all the staples of late 70s Italian horrors. Number 1. A nonsensical plot that rips off a whole bunch of other more famous movies. Number 2. A creepy ass child. Number 3. An amazing and entirely underutilized cast. Number 4. A great cinematography. And number 5. An entirely over-the-top synth soundtrack. So let's take each one of these things in turn, starting with the plot. The plot is a nonsensical jumbled mess, but as a result, it kept me highly entertained, trying to work out what the hell was going on, and even then, it only all kind of fell into place when I read summaries online. I like to think I'm fairly intelligent, and I'm very versed in watching weird ass movies whose plots make almost no sense whatsoever, but even I had trouble following what the hell was happening in this one. As best as I can make out, there is some form of long-running cosmic conflict being fought between good and evil settled on Earth at some point. I'm entirely guessing here, but I think this evil is metaphysical somehow, but he was also able to be killed by the good power. But also before he was killed, he had numerous children with human women, meaning he passed on his evil and his powerful telekinetic powers. We find all of this out at the beginning of the film as Space Jesus explains this to his bald-headed child disciples. Again, I'm guessing this dude's in space because before he explains everything above, we get this old dude's vision of a destructive storm on an alien-like world. It may also just be heaven. This is also all just background to the real story, which takes place on Earth, where at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, a professional basketball game is going on. I personally hate basketball, but I'd probably watch it if every game had exploding baskets. This introduces us to the second staple of Italian horror, the creepy child. In this case, it's a girl of about 10 years of age who has telekinetic powers and is just generally really creepy. She swears a lot, loves Pong, and has telekinetic powers that she explores largely via attempted murder. She's definitely based on Damien, the character from The Omen, where the child's parent has an unease about them and that unease manifests itself in strange accidents, misfortunes, and an unseen battle between good and evil over the child's very nature. This is essentially the core plot, which revolves around the old dude, now transported to Earth, trying to prevent a cabal of Satanists from impregnating this woman, who possesses the only womb capable of providing them with a son, who will be able to then impregnate his own half-sister, who is the creepy child, with telekinetic powers that will bring forth the evil power once more into corporeal form. Nothing mind-shattering about this, but they go about it in the most nonsensical way possible. Firstly, giving Raymond here a whole bunch of money to buy a professional sports team, the basketball team in fact from earlier. This is somehow meant to convince Barbara, the woman who can give birth to special children, to marry him and have a child. More specifically, a boy. Two problems I can see with this plan that make it entirely nonsensical straight off the bat. 1. Humans don't get to choose what sex their children are, and 2. What if Barbara refuses either to marry him or have another baby after she gives birth to another daughter, or just refuses to have another child, thus kiboshing their evil plans? All this is moot because she just refuses to marry him anyway, even though she seems perfectly happy and in love with him, so they facilitate her getting shot in the back and paralysed. Again, this is so nonsensical. I thought that the old dude did this in an attempt to murder her, so that she couldn't have the spawn of Satan, but failed. But apparently no, this was all part of a Satanist plan to get her to marry Raymond. When this genius plan fails, they then kidnap her and artificially inseminate her, but then just let her go, so she just goes and has an abortion. Honestly, these people give incompetent evil antagonists a bad name. They are that incompetent. Dr. Evil is more competent than this. As for the actual meat of the 99-minute runtime, it is largely composed of set pieces that borrow heavily from the Omen, Close Encounters, The Birds, and The Lady from Shanghai, with connecting scenes in between. If that sounds like a jumbled mess of influences, that's because it is. Don't get me wrong, most of these set pieces are actually pretty cool. We get a detective who was investigating the shooting being attacked by this hawk, which causes him to have a car crash and die horribly in a fire. In more nonsense, the police investigation is just never brought up again after this. There's a scene where the old dude lures Katie, the creepy child, into a hall of mirrors where he appears in various mirrors and she smashes them, all whilst loudly and amusingly calling him a bastard. This is very reminiscent of the scene in the Orson Welles noir, The Lady from Shanghai. The kidnapping and the old dude summoning a light sequence at the end is surely inspired by Close Encounters, which has similar scenes. And wouldn't you know it, the light sequence summons an army of pigeons, which is surely just a straight rip-off of the Hitchcock classic The Birds. This army of pigeons save Barbara, kill Raymond, and appear to kill Katie, the evil child, except they don't. She's instead transported to Space Jesus HQ and is now one of his bold disciples, with the film ending with this line.
She thought I wanted to kill her. You can't kill children. Only the evil part.
I guess all of these bold disciples are in fact former creepy children the old dude has saved previously. Again, who knows? Watching this film is akin to a dream, where random scenes flash before your eyes with the most tenuous of connections and explanations. It really is beyond description. Most of my enjoyment was from trying to pass what the hell was happening at any one moment, because it really is a series of enjoyable random set pieces, with largely nonsensical connecting narrative. The actual quality here though lies in the next staples of 70s Italian horrors. The cast here is top draw. The old dude is none other than John Huston, who has 15 Academy Award nominations to his name, and he won twice. To be fair, he doesn't have a huge amount of acting to do here, other than walk around looking kind of sinister for no apparent reason, especially seeing as he is in fact the good guy. But I already mentioned how nonsensical the plot is. He does that as well as you'd imagine a man with 15 Academy Award nominations would. Raymond, the man tasked with impregnating Barbara, is Lance Henriksen, a man who surely needs no introduction to anyone who enjoys great films. He inexplicably disappears from the film about 2/3 of the way through, and only returns for the very last scene. But every scene he's in, he's Lance freaking Henriksen. He also claims he only did this film because he got a free trip to Italy out of it, describing the entire thing as a real turkey. We get Sam Peckinpah, the legendary Western actor, in a cameo role. Apparently he couldn't remember his lines, so they just dubbed over his acting with another actor's voice, which isn't that surprising because, you know, drugs and alcoholism. Shelley Winters, another Oscar winner, plays a minor role, but she also has one of the better scenes with the creepy child, allegedly slapping her in the face for real. Child abuse, apparently being the secret to Oscar's success. On top of that, this film has some really great cinematography. A lot of films of this ilk have fairly conventional shot setups and cinematography. The Visitor goes hog wild on that front. The opening vision sequence sets you up for what you are going to get and still looks pretty great in my opinion even now, although you can kind of see the edges of where the backgrounds were added. We also get a whole bunch of imaginative shot setups. Why have a boring shot reverse shot set up for a police interview when you can just do this? It's weird as all hell, but adds visual interest to what could have been a really boring scene. There are loads of examples of this throughout the film, and they had a heap of visual flair for literally zero budget. While all of this is going on, the soundtrack is entirely over the top. It's loud, it's seemingly entirely composed of someone repeatedly passing out on a Casio keyboard for 99 minutes, and it adds a lot of atmosphere to proceedings. I wish I could be more descriptive than that, but I know nothing about music. Think Goblin, but everything turned up to 11. All in all, The Visitor is a film that has to be seen to be believed. It's entirely nonsensical, rips off a whole bunch of more famous contemporary movies, has a stacked cast for the budget, and is weirdly engrossing as a result because you dare not turn away lest you miss some more nonsensical insanity. I highly recommend it to anyone who has a degree in metaphysical space Jesus studies. Oh, and yeah, it does just about live up to the awesomeness of its poster. If you liked that, then please like, comment, and subscribe.